And welcome to the Dante and Sean podcast. My name's Sean and joining me today is the one and only Dante Buffman. Mr. Buffman, man, how are you?
Sean, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
You look remarkably put together for someone who's running on one lemon and blueberries muffin worth of fuel.
Well, they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, so make sure to minimise it as much as possible. Now, there's a coffee there as well, because when you get an oat latte, you can sort of chew it a little bit, and that's like a meal.
Yeah, bit of protein in there as well in the oat. Not as much as soy though. So
Is there actually, is it noticeable?
no, it's not. It's not noticeable.
Well, what are we talking about then?
So just so the listeners behind the kimono, we're sitting in the recording studio, and we've swapped spots today. Usually I'm sitting where you're sitting. Usually you're sitting where I'm sitting. There's a mirror directly opposite your seat. Have you always been looking in the mirror?
Yeah.
It's incredibly distracting.
Really?
Yeah.
You can actually get a lot of thoughts out speaking to yourself.
I feel like I'm on Zoom and I'm looking at myself in the top right corner whilst I should be looking at the other person. Look at me, I look great today. But I'm looking at myself. This is incredibly distracting.
Well, I've done it for maybe 50 plus episodes. Might even be more.
Your mental focus is unmatched.
Yeah, well, you're supposed to practice speeches in the mirror or something.
How many speeches are you giving?
None. I haven't practiced any in the mirror, but you're supposed to, so it's a little bit like that. Deep Tooth Tradition.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Yeah.
The over-unders. This is the first half of the over-unders pod. God, it's going to be funny when we hit record for the second one. We've already gone through the blueberry muffin. We've got the sheet in front of us. We've got our notes that we had before the notes that we had when we recorded the over-unders initially.
Yeah.
We're going to go through whether we got it right, got it wrong. We're going to see if Dante or myself won. We've actually got the tally of every single over-under written down as well. I've got a couple of little interesting points as well, which maybe we can run through them when we're short on content.
Some interesting factoids. This is a really fun exercise because it's when we get to face the music for being fucking idiots in October. And believe you me, we were.
On the precipice of summer, we were just gleefully jumping about being idiots.
Yeah.
And now, with winter has come, we're facing the reality of our shit takes. Is there do we need to do any other prep or?
No, I think if you've read the episode description and you've ever listened to one of these episodes before, you'll be well equipped to understand what we're doing. And why don't we just jump into it?
Yeah. One thing that is different, we had mulligans this year. I think we had them last year as well. When we get to it, I had the shittest mulligan. It was horrible. But yeah, let's kick it off with the Atlanta Hawks. In alphabetical order, starting in the Eastern Conference, their over-under was set at 42.5 wins. Maybe we should we'll see what they finally ended up with. There's 2 that didn't have a number.
Yeah, the thing to say is that we're recording this before the last game of the season. So we know that every team has gone over or under, but for some teams, the exact win total will remain nebulous. But that's okay because
the Bulls and the Lakers.
The purpose of the exercise is over or under, not guess the win total. Unless you've done the double number push.
So the Atlanta Hawks, their number was set at 42.5, and they have pretty much finished the year with 36 or 37. We both hit the over, and we both failed to recoup a point there. Big transactions they made was they traded Johns Collin for Rudy Gay, a bag of peanuts. They were heavily involved in a Pascal Siakam trade, but said that they didn't want to part with the 15th pick, which was Kobe Buffkin, I believe. They re-signed DeJounte Murray to a 5-year deal. There was a lot of reports that Bogdan Bogdanovic wasn't trade eligible until December. Why did I write that down? I wrote ominous, but...
Because he wasn't.
Yeah, he wasn't, but I don't know, just don't mention it, Anyway.
Yeah, it was extremely relevant.
Because of the Siakam trade?
No, well, just because December 15 comes around and is this a guy that's going to be on the move?
Well, this was a guy that was lucky he was healthy because, when Trae Young just wasn't great this year, and it could have been the construction of the team, but it could have been just that he was having a down year, or maybe he's just not that good, and maybe we called him couple of years ago, and I'm still fucking smoking the tree of life. But why'd we click over 42.5?
This one is one of the more understandable, I think, and forgivable incorrect takes, because like this is pretty much where they were. They were 500 last season. They were eminently 500 last season, and they traded for DeJounte obviously like towards the back end of last season. And there was nothing really in the 25 games that we saw with Trae and DeJounte last year that was like, oh, this team's going to like take it over. But you looked at the roster and it's like, Trae obviously really good, DeJounte obviously really good. Like DeJounte is like a fringe all-star at best, but Trae is like a genuine all-NBA kind of caliber player. And then like Capella's good, Okongwu's good, Sadiq Bey is there.
Yeah.
Bogdanovic is there. There's enough kind of like guys you can cobble together like 7 to 8 man rotation where you're like, oh, like every player in this rotation is kind of good or above.
Like they had Wesley Matthews and Garrison Matthews.
I'm not worried about either Matthews, but then if like, you know, if like AJ Griffin pops or, you know,
Jalen Johnson,
Kobe Buffkin, you know, like there's young guys that if they can kind of put it together, like they can burst into the rotation, and then all of a sudden you've got a good team. But actually, it just hasn't worked. Trae hasn't been as good, and I think the 2 guard thing just like doesn't work. Like as a team building structure to get the best out of your all-star point guard, giving him another guard. It's like wouldn't they have been so better off like looking at a big forward? Like, I mean, I know they were involved with Siakam, or just like get this man like an elite rim running center, and let him play, you know, like 1-5 pick and rolls every single time down, kick to the shooters. Like let him play like Harden, Houston. Offense.
Just get involved in the Daniel Gafford trade, like just,
something. I mean, like but maybe for a better player. But I don't know who those players are, but
restart the timer on Capella. Like Capella's now done, right?
Capella's done. Okongwu has been disappointing.
6'9". He's actually this year, because I was looking at stats for the Atlanta Hawks article I wrote for the deep2.com. This year he's actually...
it's that simple?
Yeah, it's that simple. So this year he's actually, you know, it's like, oh, they've got a young backup big man coming through. But it's actually, they're kind of not, because he is no longer a deterrent at the rim. This year has been the first year that he's actually like, opponents are more likely to shoot shots at the rim when he's out there. And they shoot an above league average level when he's out there. So it's
But he was still 6'9" when he was playing well.
Yeah,
so the 6'9" part is neither here nor there. But he's taken like a huge step backwards in his development. And where before you felt like, oh, no worries, like you'll be able to trade. When you decide you want to trade Capella, Dallas or Charlotte will just give you a first round pick for Capella because he's still good. You can move on to Okongwu, no problems. Now it's like it's so much murkier. Capella is kind of like past it a little bit. You held on to him maybe just a season or two too long. Okongwu is not ready. Like, you know, the only bright spot is Jalen Johnson, but he missed half the season. Trae's sat down the back end of this season. Like this team is just like the definition of mediocre. This team is like Bulls South.
But like let's say they trade DeJounte or Trae for, which Jake Fisher last week said that they will. They're going to trade one of them. Let's say they trade it for who's the shooting guard in LA? Austin Reeves. Let's say it's Austin Reeves, Rui, and like some future first round picks that they might be able to flip into something else. Their number might be set at 42.5 again. Because the East is that bad. And we might talk ourselves into going over again. And for one thing that you didn't mention is that Quinn Snyder is a good coach. Which, you know, he had a bad year and he's had a bad year and a half, but he's got a lot more years there to support him.
Well, I guess he does, but you know, like, does he?
Yeah, I mean, if they're
a 40-win team again next year, and Trae is still there,
how good is he?
Well, yeah. Or maybe it's just a comment that, like, you know, as good of a coach as you are, you can't supersede the structures of the franchise or the structure of the roster that you've been given. Maybe that's the lesson here.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Boston Celtics, whose number was set at 54.5. That is tied for the biggest number on the board last year. 54.5. You hit the under, I hit the over. They currently have 60-something wins.
63 wins.
And I got that point there. So 1 point, Sheem Carroll. They lost Marcus Smart and Grant Williams. When we recorded this, they hadn't actually traded for Drew Holiday yet.
Yeah.
which might have swayed your opinion and couldn't have swayed mine if I've already gone over. They added Kristaps Porzingis and O'Shea Brissett. Re-signed Jaylen Brown. And yeah, so actually I did write, Stevens doesn't seem enamoured with Brogdon as the lead ball handler because Brogdon was in a lot of trade talks. And then he wasn't.
And he wasn't enamoured with him. He wasn't enamoured with him as even on the team.
Yeah. When this over-under number came out, it was a different discussion to Drew Holiday because once they got Drew, people were saying, is this the most talented basketball we've seen?
I listened to the Eastern Conference episode that we did in October, the preview episode. And honestly, I have to out myself that I think even if they had traded for Drew, I don't know that I would have gone over because I thought that this team was going to be really good. I didn't make any bones about that. This is going to be one of the best teams in the league, one of the best teams in the East, in with a shot at the 1 seed. Very good analysis. But for me, it was Porzingis. It was the questions around how is Porzingis going to fit in here. Rob Williams was still on the roster, hadn't been traded to Portland yet, along with Brogdon.
Yeah.
So it was like KP, Horford, Rob Williams. Like, how is this all going to work? Fitting KP in on offense and defense is going to be an adjustment. Is he going to stay on the court? They've just been like a juggernaut, and what's more, like a juggernaut from day one. Like, they've been the best team in the East by miles from literally the first tip of the season. So all of those concerns proved to be unfounded. Derek White has been,
great.
So good. Crazy that I was listening to a Low Post episode the other day, and they were talking about Derek White's possible extension, and he's extension eligible this season, but the way that the cap works, the way that his contract works with the 125% of starting salary or whatever it is for the extension, 140% I think it is. The most they can offer Derek White is like a 4-year contract worth $130 million. And I was like, fuck. Go back in time 18 months ago and tell someone that Derek White is going to be getting paid $35 million a year. And see what they say.
That is a lot of money. And I know it's obviously the money's gone up, but
he's really good. The money's gone up, and his play and his impact has gone up, and he's probably more valuable to them. He's probably closer to a $35 million player to them as the 4th or 5th option versus to Team X that would pay him that much and try and make him the 2nd or 3rd.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what the crazy thing is, like the conversation was like, oh, I don't know if he would even accept that. Like, he might even try and go to free agency and get more
from the fucking Hornets or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, fuck.
Yeah.
You know, if he doesn't accept it, we could be looking at Derek White 4 for 160.
One bad thing about this over/under number that probably tempered some of our expectations is that the Joe Mazzulla was still the head coach, and we didn't think he was a good head coach.
Well, I mean, it appears that he's a good head coach, but the main reasons for consternation with his coaching abilities last season was not, oh, he was bad in the regular season. It was when the playoffs started, things kind of like fell apart. We can reserve judgment, I think, fairly. Cool.
All right, let's move on to the Brooklyn Nets, whose number was set at 37.5, and I think off the top of my head they're on 31 wins and 32. So we both hit the over, and we both failed. Sorry, we both didn't hit the over. We both picked the over, and it didn't hit. I think this is our first Nito stat of the night, trademarked. No, it's not. I thought
you're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait a couple of teams for that.
I thought we'd gone over on every single Brooklyn Nets number ever.
Have we?
Yeah, I think something like that. Is
Fucking hell. How and yeah, we'll have to do an analysis on how many times we've actually been successful with that.
Yeah, well, last year they also had 54.5 because they had Kevin Durant and everyone.
Yeah.
So they signed Dennis Smith Jr., Darius Bazley, and Lonnie Walker IV, and they re-signed Cam Johnson to a 4 for $95. I picked Nick Claxton for Defensive Player of the Year in our awards predictions. Mikal Bridges was he was playing so well in the last 20 games. He was a fucking MIP candidate, right? How could the Brooklyn Nets fail? How could it all go wrong? They had quite a good starting point guard in Spencer Dinwiddie.
I mean, yeah. Opinions differ on whether that's true.
Yeah, well, fuck, it's definitely out there now. This is 6 wins off.
Yeah.
And 6 wins off a team that wouldn't even be above 500. This number was actually like incredibly set. How would this team be under 500 in the East? But they definitely were.
Well, that's you were very bullish on this. I went over, but I thought they were going to be a 38. 39. Like I didn't think this team was going to be good, really. And I think it's obvious. Like Nick Claxton for DPOY is actually like a perfectly fine pick, and he was playing so well the first 30 games of the season. Bridges was playing really well the first 30 games of the season, but it's kind of clear that he's not a best player on a good team level player. And then you look at the rest of the roster, and it's like, okay, well, like Cam Johnson, great player, but is a role player and not someone who's really looking like he's going to ever be able to step into a bigger role. Dinwiddie is shit. Who else is on this team that you're getting super excited about? Mikal Bridges at the end of last season was like the tide that lifts all boats. And if he was even a lick below that, I think this team was going to struggle. And he was like fairly a lick below that.
Everyone was going nuts about Dennis Smith Jr. and Lonnie Walker as minimum signings, and they've been good minimum signings, I think. But they're minimum signings, right? They got them in for a reason.
Yeah.
Also, there was a little bit of an element of, hey, they've got all these future draft picks and they want to be good. Like, can they swing for someone? And then trade deadline came around and they were quite below 500. And the trade was, hey, we'll take this bad, good player off your hands for a pretty mediocre package. That just wouldn't have got it done.
Yeah.
Would have been really interesting to see Jalen Green on this team down the end of the year. And then maybe that would be the rising tide that lifts all boats.
Especially when the trade deadline came and passed, Jalen Green was playing shit.
Yeah.
And
then he played.
They allegedly offered Houston their picks back for Jalen Green, which would have been such an interesting. You're right. It would have been such an interesting buy low opportunity.
Well, picks back and Bridges.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Picks back and Bridges.
Yeah.
Oh, well then good that they've held on to it.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Bridges, there will be a contender that is like, oh, we need to add a third best player. Like, we're going to trade everything we've got for Bridges because he's going to fit perfectly. Bridges will be like the Drew Holiday, the Drew Holiday for Boston of another team.
Or the Derek White.
Yeah, like this guy. I mean, Bridges, I think in a vacuum is better, is a better fit on more teams than either of those guys just because he's bigger.
Yeah.
There will be a trade for him, definitely. The key will just be that they will have to be ready to make the trade and not like hold on to him and be like, oh, like he's our best player, we want to maximize return or whatever. Like you have to be ready to pull the trigger, I think.
So the next team, the Charlotte Hornets, whose number was set at 31.5. Are they on? Does it start with a 1?
No, it starts with a 2, but
it ends in a 0.
Yeah, it ends in a 0.
This was pretty crazy. They re-signed PJ Washington to a 3 for $46 million deal. They re-signed Miles Bridges to a 1 for 8. Obviously, for all the stuff that was surrounding him there, they drafted Brandon Miller, who looked like the wrong draft pick. And what if I told you Brandon Miller was the right draft pick and they still go under? They extended LaMelo Ball with the max. And they sold the goddamn team for 2.7 big ones. LaMelo Ball, you can say this bit. You can say what you told me at the cafe.
Well, we had a conversation. We obviously, you've gone the 2-number push. I've gone over here, thinking last season LaMelo Ball missed 65 games and they won 27 games still. So they can't possibly be worse than that this year. LaMelo Ball, he can't miss 65 games again. And he missed 50 games. And when he was in the lineup, he wasn't very good. PJ Washington is gone.
It's just a dude.
Miles Bridges hasn't been anywhere approaching the kind of player that he was 2 or 3 years ago. And thank God for that. And then you look up and down the roster and it's like Mark Williams had a great start to the season. Mark Williams is averaging 15 and 12 with 2 blocks for the first 25 games of the season. And then hurt his back and missed the rest of the season. And not hurt his back he's hurt his back, he'll be out for 6 months. We'll see you next year. Hurt his back, reevaluated in 2 weeks. Reevaluated in 2 weeks. Reevaluated in 2 weeks. Not good. That a condition that maybe should have been getting better was getting worse. And this is another team where it's okay, take the top level talent out. LaMelo just can't stay on the court at all, which is so concerning.
Yeah.
And this is such a fucking diabolical roster.
Yeah. Was Bouknight on the team at the start of the year before was he waived?
I think he started the year.
Yeah. And Kai Jones was on the team.
Kai Jones just signed with the Clippers this morning.
Yeah.
Multi-year deal.
Yeah. Hey, more power to him. We should have said, hey, what if LaMelo Ball misses any time? I guess Terry Rozier was there. Terry Rozier just screams 31.5 wins.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's Terry Rozier, the ultimate hornet.
They should trade for
him. The LaMelo stuff is really concerning.
Yeah.
It's super concerning.
Yeah, because it's you're trying to build a team. And it looks like the team's in the right direction now. Head coach stepping down, Steve Clifford. Who's the GM? He's gone.
Kupchak is gone.
Kupchak's gone. They sold at the trade deadline. They're going in the right direction. It's pretty grim. It's
just they weren't trying to be 20 wins. They were trying to be 38, and they've failed spectacularly.
And now they're heading into a bad draft with one of the worst 3 records.
Yeah.
The Chicago Bulls, this is the first one that we don't actually know the answer for, but the Chicago Bulls, their number was set at 37.5. We both went under. They're currently on 37, is that correct?
No, they're over. They're on 39.
Oh, they're on 39. Fucking green. 1-1. Well, we both hit it. Congratulations. Shake my hand.
No, we didn't. We went under.
Oh, we went under.
We both lost it.
Whoops-a-days. They re-signed Nick Vucevic, not to be confused with Vucevic, the guy who's been killing it for I think maybe even the Bulls. They re-signed Donsumnu and White and added Javon Carter and signed Torrey Craig. Someone on Twitter was like, this is now the most depressing offseason for the Bulls ever, Torrey Craig and Javon Carter, which eclipses Thaddeus Young and Tomas Satoransky from a couple of years ago. This we know the story with the Bulls. We've shat on them plenty of times on this podcast, and the reason their number set at 37.5 and you could push this pretty much is because, for all the reasons we mentioned before, it's just gross.
Well, you could copy pasta their season from last year and every analysis of their season from last year.
And the year before.
Well, the year before they were they played the first. Remember they played the first 30 games. Lonzo was healthy. It was the Bulls, they're 20 and 10, and then Lonzo got hurt and it all fell apart.
Yeah.
And since that moment, it's the same story. It's DeMar, he's old, but he's still really good. Can he keep doing it?
Yeah.
Yes. Does it matter? Unclear. Levine is hurt or shit. Caruso's great, and don't ask him to shoot more than 40% from the field because he can't do it.
Yeah.
And then it's just collection of iffy role players.
Yeah.
Like Vucevic, that was a depressing re-signing and has been extremely inconsequential for them this year.
Yeah. White is a candidate for most improved player.
White was really good. I mean, not to throw you under the bus, but you were shitting on that re-signing, 3 for 33 at the start of the season. But that looks like great value now.
That's what Steph signed before he broke out.
No, it was 4 for 44.
440.
You're such a fake fan. You're such a fake fan.
But, the same vibe.
It's because he signed it in 2012 and you came along in 2015. So I won't hold it against you.
That's not true.
But yeah, I mean, this team is just like the fact that the over-under was 37.5 and they're going to end up with 39 or 40 is like the ultimate Bulls thing, because the next season the over-under will be set at 39.5 and they'll end up with 37.
Yeah.
They're just constantly hoodwinking you out of 2 wins either way, whilst always remaining so terrible.
Yeah.
So bang average.
And we both missed it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if they can make up for fate replacing them with the Miami Heat's playoff run last season via the play-in.
Maybe, it was DeMar DeRozan's daughter should be coming to the away game. And, let's stop shitting.
Let's move on to an actual good team.
The Cleveland Cavaliers, their number was set at 50.5. You went under, I went over.
You're currently sitting on 48 with 1 game left.
And that's 48 wins, and they missed a big chunk of every single one of their best players, minus Jared Allen. In the offseason, they traded in a sign and trade for Max Strus, gave him 4 for 62. They extended Karis LeVert, and they signed Georges Niang. All great moves for a team that just wants to win 51 games every single year. More power to them, right? That's excellent. But then Darius Garland broke his jaw, and it was wide shut as such that he couldn't eat food for a couple of weeks / month, and then had to come back and get back into fitness at an NBA level and just couldn't do it. So it's a little bit of a shame hearing people say, "Oh, fuck, Darius Garland had a bad year." It's like, yeah, he couldn't eat for like 4 weeks there.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell, all the questions surrounding his future. The first real concrete thing that we got was last week, where he said, "Look, I'm not going to sign an extension, and unless we make the NBA Finals, I'm not going to sign an extension in the future."
Did he say that?
He said that through sources, which is it's just a nice way to say, "Hey, I'm not coming back. You've probably got to do something here," which is going to make for an interesting off-season, but it also makes for a little bit of a concerning vibe in the locker room. So it's not like you're getting the kumbaya lift here. But the game's so close. And it was actually sort of credit to JB, where the J stands for JB Bickerstaff.
No, the J stands for James and the B stands for Borrego.
James Borrego, Bickerstaff. Credit to him for keeping it together. We've all listened to the podcast.
Low-key crazy that the reports 2 off-seasons ago when the Cavs traded for Johnny Mitch, and all the reports there's no way he's signing an extension in Cleveland, and it was so far in the future that he'd even be extension eligible. Those reports have apparently become true.
Yeah. 2
full seasons on a successful young team hasn't been enough to sway him to want to stay. That's the Cavs will get a haul for him when they trade him, but that's low-key a bit of a failure. Although I guess maybe the learning is from Kawhi going to Toronto. It's these guys are going to go where they want to go.
So it's a failure, but you're going to trade him for value, right?
Yeah.
So then you're going to have Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen, and you're going to bring in good shit.
Yeah. The Cavs are another example of the positional strength on strength kind of not actually working that well. 2 guards. It worked last year until the playoffs when it completely fell apart.
Yeah.
And this season, Johnny Mitch has been in and out of the lineup. He's been good. Garland has had his health struggles, as you've outlined, but he's been not very good.
Yeah.
Whether that is or isn't explainable by all of the off-the-court factors going into it, it hasn't really worked with the 2 guards, and it hasn't really worked with the 2 bigs. Mobley is still just so good on defense and so unformed on offense. I still have no idea what kind of player they want him to be, what kind of player he wants to be, and what kind of player he is.
Yeah.
Which is in such a contrast to Allen.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, I know exactly what I am. Like there's no fucking doubt about how you're supposed to use me, what I'm going to do. I wonder whether there's not, like, along with the Mitchell trade coming kind of this off season or at the trade deadline next season, I wonder whether there's not another trade
for Allen or something.
For Allen out of there.
Yeah.
Or like, does someone come along and make a huge offer for Mobley and the Cavs kind of say, I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't do that because he has the makings of a future DPOY.
Yeah.
But it's concerning that he's now finished his third year and, like,
you don't know what position he plays.
Any offensive game really whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's not like Jaren Jackson where it's like, okay, he needs a big ground-bound centre to play next to him. Now he's strong enough, he can start at the next year he's going to start at the 5, right? Yeah. Most likely. It's not like that where it's like, okay, well, we weren't sure about where he stands on defense, but on defense, but at least he can stand outside of the 3-point line on offense. Like, Mobley doesn't have that.
No.
But I think it's crazy that there's all this negative juju, all the injuries. You obviously hit the under, you're going to get that point. But they got 48 wins. They got a game tomorrow. They could finish on 49 wins, and
Washington Wizards special.
They've locked up a top 4 seed. Like that's
awesome. we'll see what
they're going to lose to the 5th seed, right?
Yeah. Well, if that happens, if they lose in the first round, Bickerstaff's gone.
Yeah, but
Bickerstaff is out.
Oh no. Sorry, I don't think so.
I think so.
Well, let's better chalk Carabera on it.
All right.
If they lose in the first round, I do not think Bickerstaff is gone.
I think Bickerstaff is so gone.
Well, I think he's done such a great job. Before we move on, imagine trading Donnie Mitch to the Nets for a package based around Mikal Bridges. You've got Darius Garland, Max Strus, Mikal Bridges, the 2 bigs. Karis LeVert coming off the bench. A lot of former Nets.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty nice.
Thanks.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah.
Probably got to be some picks going in there as well.
Yeah. Well, I'll get on the phone. I'll call Sean. The Detroit Pistons, their number was set at 28.5. We both hit the under and we both got it.
Finally, something we can agree on.
A lot of agreements coming up in the next couple of points. Yes, interesting factoid. Detroit have never gone over their number for the whole entire time that we've been doing the over-unders. How about that? The Pistons are bad, hey?
Yeah.
What'd they do?
They're so bad.
They re-signed Beef Stew to 4 for $64, traded for Joe Harris, Monty Morris, they drafted Asar Thompson, and they waived RJ Hampton. Asar Thompson was, like, strangely different to it was better than what we thought, but then after 20 games everyone's like, oh, you can actually just not guard him inside the paint as well.
Yeah.
Joe Harris fell off cliff. I thought he was going to be all right. Monty Morris, you'd say he's been good. He's been filling his role for Minnesota, but he just wasn't healthy with the Pistons. They lost 28 games in a row, 29?
28.
And their number was set at 28.5.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
It ended up being the biggest losing streak in NBA history.
Yeah, single season, because there was that process went across the years. But
Yeah.
Because then you can't count the playoffs.
Yeah, of course, which makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll put it to you this way. Do you think Cade is really good?
Like, I don't think, when it's all said and done, will he have a better career than Darius Garland? I might say no.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Because Darius Garland couldn't eat.
Yeah. He just, I think he's really good, but it's, all of his production is like weighed down by all of the bad things that you don't want a player to have. Like taking stupid shots and shooting 41% from the field and having heaps and heaps of turnovers, stupid turnovers. And it's very difficult for me to pass whether that is Cade or playing on the Pistons where there's no one else to do anything and he has to fucking do it all, and he's like settled into this unhealthy world of like, you know, one dribble pull up long twos and trying to thread a pass into you know, a guy in the paint who's covered by 3 players and it getting picked off and run the other way for a dunk. In our conversation in October, I was, you know, running out these same lines. Like, it's very important that you know what your number 1 overall pick is after the 3rd season.
Yeah.
So you can make a decision on, are we giving this guy a max extension? Is this a guy who we can actually build the franchise around? Because if he's not, this team's fucked.
Yeah.
If Cade is like not an all-star, this team is so fucked because there's no other all-stars on the roster.
Yeah.
I think that much is clear.
Yeah.
Duran is really good, but...
Clint Capella-ish.
Yeah, he's the type of center that's going to get eclipsed by all of the skilled bigs in the conference, in the league.
Yeah.
Sooner rather than later. Super valuable, but he's not a star. Ivy... That was weird this season.
Yeah.
Like, Ivy was benched even though he had like a good rookie season.
And no one told him?
Yeah, and then he kind of came back in, but he's been inconsistent. Cade, like, Thompson can't shoot.
Well, you're missing the elephant in the room. Like, Killian Hayes was starting for a lot of the start of the year.
Yeah.
That's fucked.
Killian Hayes was starting instead of Ivy, and then just got waived when they couldn't find a trade for him.
So do you remember that fan that had the sign in Detroit where it was like, I flew 10,000 miles from France to watch you play Killian Hayes? And then Twitter's like, what? Fuck, crazy.
This was, I think, undoubtedly the worst season of any club in the comp. Because they weren't trying to be 15 wins, and they have 15 wins. Which is hard to do. They signed a head coach that was in the NBA Finals 3 seasons ago. 3 seasons ago. Feels like a lifetime ago. To a $75 million deal for 6 years. And it was like, within 20 games, it was like, oh, maybe he shouldn't be the coach.
There was also the stuff where the GM and the Pobo, different people, didn't want to sign Monty. But then the owner came in and was like, "No, I'm paying him this money," and then just like went way over what they thought they were going to be able to pay a coach. So it was the owner's decision to pay and sign Monty, and then now there's talks about bringing in a consultant who's actually above Troy Weaver, but Troy Weaver's still going to be there. Everyone just needs to leave.
Yeah, that's real organizational disaster class.
Should we move on?
Yeah.
The Indiana Pacers, their number was set at 38.5. We both went over and we both won the over. They're currently in a fight for the 5th and 6th seed. They maxed Tyrese Halliburton. They traded for Obadiah Toppin. They gave Bruce Brown a lot of money, remember that?
Oh my God.
And they drafted Jarris Walker. They eventually traded Bruce Brown for Pascal Siakam. But even if they hadn't traded for Pascal Siakam, they would still be hitting the over. Pretty easy over here, and we both got it.
Finally, I've gotten an Indiana Pacers prediction right.
Yeah.
The Bruce Brown thing was super interesting. Do you think that Toronto will pick up his team option or decline? $22.5 million team option for next year. He signed a 2 for 45 with a second-year team option coming from Denver last season to Indiana. And he wasn't very good for the Pacers.
No. But, I think it's good to have the tradable salary, but I'm just thinking they're going to re-sign Emmanuel quickly. They've got Puddle. They're going to re-sign Kelly Olynyk because they keep trading picks for white big men that they have to re-sign in a couple of months. They've got Rowan Jr.
I forgot about Rowan Jr.
Yeah, easy to forget.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's actually...
I hope he's doing well.
They might be like a tax team if they pick up his team option.
Yeah. Not to mention, I mean, not for this season, but they'll be giving Scotty Barnes the max this offseason.
Scotty Barnes, that's the guy. But they also, if they keep their pick, if it's top 6 owed to San Antonio, they're going to owe that player around about $10 million. They're currently projected to keep
25 and 56. 25 wins is the 4th worst in the East.
Yeah.
And the 7th worst overall.
Wow, okay, so they're not projected to keep their pick at the moment. But if they do keep their pick, it's a top 6 pick and it's going to be getting paid quite hefty amounts.
And also it's a shit draft, so the top 6 pick might be shit anyway.
They're going to have some money problems.
They are, yeah.
And their number starts with a 2.
Yeah, what's Puddle on? He's on 20.
We're talking about the Raptors in the Pacers section. What's Puddle on?
I think he's on the Vooch contract.
Late teens.
I think he's on the Vooch contract.
I think you might be right, actually. Pacers, let's move on because we actually don't want to talk about them because it was an easy over.
Yeah, Siakam good, Halliburton good.
Yeah. They could be a top 4 seed if Halliburton didn't have his hamstring stuff.
Yeah, well, they're currently actually in the play-in, but they're 2 games away from the Cavs record. So, obviously...
Lost to the Cavs yesterday, though.
There's 4 wins separating 3rd and 8th in the East. So, it's all much of a muchness.
Yeah. The Miami Heat, their number was set at 48.5. We both hit the over. We were incorrect on that. At the time, the Damian Lillard trade hadn't happened, but... Yeah, it was a lock. He was going to play for the Miami Heat. He wanted to be there. And when we did this, we didn't actually... Yeah, when we did this, we didn't have the... we didn't know that he was going to be playing for the Milwaukee Bucks.
It seemed like a fait accompli.
Yeah, so all they had done was signed Josh Richardson and re-signed Kevin Love.
Yeah.
And that just signalled hey...
And the only move of consequence they made during the season was adding Rozier in January.
Yeah.
Which I'm he's been good for them. I think he'll be big for them in the playoffs when, it gets down to the end of a game and they need someone else apart from Jimmy who can get into the teeth of the defense. Tyler Hero, God bless him, he doesn't like going inside.
Yeah, well, neither is Terry, I don't think.
Terry can get there though. Tyler, he can't get there.
They've got a lot of Duncan Robinsons who are masquerading as not Duncan Robinsons. That's seriously what I think. Terry loves his jump shot. But there are 45 wins and they can finish on 46, and the absolute worst case scenario happened for this team. That's pretty crazy that there are only 2 off there.
The worst case scenario has happened for this team in the regular season 3 years in a row.
Yeah,
though.
Yeah.
Since they played the Lakers in the finals in 2020.
Yeah.
Since then, their 3 regular seasons have been playing. Right?
Yeah.
But
no, they had the Kyle Lowry year. Were they? Is that what?
I think they were. That if they weren't playing, they were a low playoff seed.
I think it was 4 because they had.
They've not popped. I don't think they've won 50 since.
Was there a 4-5 where they lost to the Bucks? When the Bucks killed them? Yeah. I think that might have been.
That was. I don't think that was a 4-5. I think that was a 1-8 or a 2-7.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well,
that was the next year after they won because the Heat beat the Bucks the Heat killed the Bucks on the way to the championship, 20, and then in 21, when the Bucks won against the Phoenix Suns, the Bucks were we fucking we want you. We're not trying to lose any games to mess with the seeding or whatever, which means it had to be a 1-8 or a 2-7. Yeah. So which means the Miami Heat after getting to the fucking NBA championship, the NBA finals, they then were 7 or 8 the next season. Then the season after that, they might have even missed the playoffs, or they were in the play-in again, and now they're in the play-in again.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Did you listen to the Zach Lowe pod on Dunked On with John Hollinger and?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And Zach Lowe had some stuff where he's just it's just
too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, but they're all my favourite cooks.
Yeah, but cook something different. It's like getting 3 Italian cooks together when we could have a Spanish, an Italian, and a Greek.
I know,
Mediterranean feast.
Yeah, but they're all there, and they're like, "Have you guys tried a red sauce with beef?" And the other's like, "Oh my god!" And they're all just shaking each other's hands, red sauce on pasta. Oh, so 3 cooks all cooking the same thing, but they're so happy to do it, and they're having fun doing it because it's what they've always done. Yeah. Anyway, talking about Bam Adebayo. And they're like, just one thing to keep note, when they're talking about Heat culture, a lot of the Miami press, a lot of the Miami PR has been around, hey, Bam's this dude, Bam's this guy, Bam's the Heat culture now, Bam, 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 Bam. And that's not to say that Jimmy's leaving, Jimmy's quite old. It's to say that, hey, they're a little bit making sure Bam is the center of the universe so that when he eventually becomes a free agent. Stuff to talk about 2 years from now. But it was just interesting. Let's just put a pin in it. Bam could be one of the greatest free agents to move teams in a couple of years.
He won't move.
He won't move.
Once you're in, you're in. Unless you're LeBron James.
Yeah, I don't know. But if he does leave, it's like, okay, well, Jimmy's going to retire.
Yeah.
Tyler Hero, yeah.
Jimmy low-key, like, not great this year as well.
No, it doesn't matter. Like, if he's bad in the playoffs, then it'll be
He's the ultimate guy that's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. But, I mean...
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The facts are what the facts are.
Let's move on to the Milwaukee Bucks, whose number was set at 52.5. They didn't have Damian Lillard at the time. Who did they have? They extended, God, I'm funny. They extended Lopez Middleton, and they signed Rolo, Malik Beasley in free agency, and Jay Crowder's back. We went over... Adrian Griffin was the coach at the time as well.
Remember when Adrian Griffin got fired 30 games into the season when they were 23-7?
I think it was 33-10.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then would you believe his replacement's been worse?
Yeah.
Yeah, but his replacement is bad, so they signed a coach to be bad, to be fair.
Yeah.
They're tanking.
Weird.
What are the Bucks ending with? So they ended up...
They would have just
49.
barely scraped 50, yeah.
So they can get 50 tomorrow. They traded for Damian Lillard, and we picked the over before the Damian Lillard.
Like looking at the standings now, they're tied with the Knicks for second. If the Knicks get home court versus the Bucks in a 2-3 series, the Knicks could full just win.
Yeah.
The Knicks full could win without Randall.
They won the other day.
Yeah, smacked them.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the Knicks are in the conference finals. And I was talking about this with Alessio yesterday. I was like, I want the Knicks to be in the conference finals. And he's like, absolutely not. Their fans are going to be insane. And I'm like, that's why I want them to get there, because I want Side Talk NYC to publish like fucking 50 videos about just fans going nuts. Like,
we want like another bing bong moment.
Yeah. Have you seen the thing on Twitter?
Joe Biden, take me out to dinner.
Yeah. We've all heard it.
I'm just saying.
Have you seen the dude? There's this dude in the beach, and he's like smiling like that, and then he's like, "Where the hose at? Cocky want boing boing." And it just reminds me of Bing Bong. The Bucks. I mean, there's not much we can take away from this. We went the over on consistency in the team, and they traded for Damian Lillard, and fucking things outside of what we could have predicted happened, like Adrian Griffin being horrible. These guys
Griffin being horrible. Yeah, I don't know.
These guys were dancing when he got fired.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah,
that's weird.
Little did they know Doc Rivers was around the corner.
Yeah, they were dancing because they had Joe Prunty as the coach for 2 games. Joe Prunty, higher winning percentage with the Bucks this year than Doc Rivers. The New York Knicks, 45.5. You went over, I went under. As we were talking about, the Knicks could win tomorrow, get 50 wins, and steal the 2 seed from the Milwaukee Bucks. Just great Knicks. The Knicks are fully here.
Low key. I mean, high key. Jalen Brunson's so fucking good.
Yeah. Like all NBA.
God, if you're a Mavs fan, you'd be sick.
He's going to be.
He's a lock for second team. If he's not on first.
He's 5th in MVP.
He's a lock for second team if he's not on first.
Yeah, he's 5th in MVP. Yeah,
I'm saying
all NBA's positionless.
Still.
So what have I got written here? So we both hit the over. We wrote toilet break. Signed Dante and Sean 4 for 47, and then he just proceeds to have 2 10 3-point make games. That's fucked.
He just proceeds to. You would be able to speak to this, but my perception of DiVincenzo before the season was not that he was someone who's just going to shoot it every time he touches on the perimeter.
Yeah. Well, I watched him for a year before, man.
He wasn't like this.
He got the Wiggins bug. I was talking about this with the boys yesterday when we were watching the basketball, but Andrew Wiggins, he must do something in training, because Moses Moody has got this bug where he's like, man, if you get past your man, right, and then you fake out the big man, you can just pass it out and keep running, right? You can just keep doing circles because you don't have to shoot it once you're in there. And if you do, you can miss. But make sure you hit the front of the rim on a bank shot. It's fucking, you can just do that. And Dante DiVincenzo, more power to him, he left that toxic Wiggins bug situation, right?
Yeah.
And he just started making shots and taking him when he touched him.
Who would have thought that Tom Thibodeau would be the coach to empower someone to start shooting 12 threes a game?
Yeah, like I have been negative on Tibbs for a long time. He's
we all have.
His 3-year expiry has well and truly expired.
Yeah.
And he's still there, and he's evolved.
He's bypassed the Mourinho law.
The minute stuff is he's still got some issues there.
The minute stuff may well rear its head in the playoffs when,
Josh Fart can't play 48 minutes a game.
Well, Tim begs to differ. Josh Fart's been really good. All the Villanova guys on that team have been really good.
Yeah.
Josh Hart, it's so great to see someone taking on more all-around responsibility with absolutely no requirement for them to post even a respectable shooting percentage.
Yeah.
Because the last 30 games of the season, Josh Hart has probably been averaging like 15, 8, and 8, and he's probably been shooting 35% from the field, taking 20 shots a game. But it's been working.
Yeah.
He's just like grabbing every rebound. He's playing like point forward, backup ball handler for Brunson.
Yeah.
And it's just working. Mitchell Robinson's back.
Yeah, that's weird. Because they applied for the disabled player exception. I feel like they're just better with Hartenstein there anyway.
I mean,
What is Mitchell Robinson? Like,
he's a good starter, fringe level.
is he better than Gaff? It's similar.
Flip
It's
a
the
coin?
same. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like a good backup, bad starter.
If Mitchell Robinson was in Dallas, I have no doubt that Mitchell Robinson would be scoring 30 baskets in a row as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good depth piece to have when you go to the playoffs. So it's not Jericho Sims coming off the bench.
Yeah, Mitchell Robinson's also an awesome shot blocker, awesome interior presence. And if he's coming in, if Hardenstein does end up starting and playing 25 minutes a game, if Robinson's playing 20 minutes a game, that just emboldens him even more to be able to be that interior presence where he can just fucking jump for everything because he doesn't have to worry about getting 5 fouls.
Yeah,
it's like, brother, you're in there.
Yeah.
Block it.
Hardenstein a free agent this year. And there was...
He must have signed like a 2 for 16 or something 2 years ago.
Yeah. And it's a CAA client, so if he wants his money, he can just stay with the
3-year, 60 million coming in. He's got the Vooch, Euro big Vooch contract incoming.
I think he's German.
Yeah, Euro big.
I know, but he might be American.
He's definitely not American.
Okay.
Isaiah
Hartenstein.
You think Isaiah Hartenstein is... he's 100%
Where did he grow
European.
up? Where did he grow up? I know, but I don't know,
Isaiah Hartenstein is a German-American.
Yeah, where did he grow up?
Let's have a look.
What did he eat for breakfast when
Born in Eugene, Oregon.
The plot thickens. Early life?
Okay, his father, Florian, is a German-American basketball coach of mixed African-American heritage. Isaiah's mother is a white American. This is taking a turn that I didn't...
This is what I'm saying.
In 2008, Hardenstein moved to Germany.
Okay.
So when did he come into the... He's probably 28 years old. He's been pro for 10 years. So he probably was early teenager when he moved to Germany.
But he had a Red Sox poster on his wall as a kid.
Yeah. Definitely would not have... I mean, definitely...
Not an FC Union
would not
Berlin.
have picked Isaiah Hartenstein's dad for mixed African-American heritage.
Florian.
And also German.
Florian Hartenstein.
You know the trendy cafe on Rathdown Street was named after him?
Yeah, what's it called?
Florian.
Hartenstein. Hey, if we ever make a cafe, let's call it Hartenstein. Good on you, Knicks. Orlando Magic, 36.5.
This one's fun.
Yeah, we both hit the over and we both got it.
Yeah.
Are they in pissing distance of the 2 seed as well?
They're outside of pissing distance, and they might be in the play-in if they lose.
If they win tomorrow, I imagine they've got the tiebreaker that they're tied with 3 teams with. That's why they're 5 right now.
They do.
They control their destiny.
But if they lose and Philly win, I think Philly's playing a cupcake.
A literal cupcake.
Literal cupcake.
No,
it's the one that.
They would have the tiebreaker right now.
Who blew the candle out in the dunk contest of the cupcake? That's the cupcake that they're playing. So if the Magic lose and Philly and Indy win, the Magic will drop into the playoffs.
That might have been a good segue. Was it Tim touting Cole Anthony?
No, it wasn't. It's from way back. It might have been before your time.
Green.
Gerald Green or Serge Ibaka.
Gerald Green. Serge Ibaka doesn't blow candles and cupcakes.
You'd be surprised.
Remember that documentary where he went as like the man from the Congo and everyone called him Yao Ming? Do you remember
This sounds like you're explaining one of your dreams, like the morning after.
Yeah, God, I've had some good dreams. But it was like, it's called like the Man of the Congo, right? And it was like he obviously grew up in the DRC, and then that's what we call it. And then he went back, and then everyone just says Yao Ming, Yao Ming, Yao Ming, because he's just such like an internationally recognized player that any basketball player, everyone just yells Yao Ming at him. There's no bullshit. He's in the Congo, and everyone's calling him Yao Ming, and he says it's a respect thing.
It's respectfful that they're calling him Yao Ming.
It's on YouTube. It's about 29 minutes. I'm going to watch it later.
I'm not doing that. Orlando Magic, good stuff. Banchero, good. Wagner hasn't been taking the step forward maybe that everyone hoped he would to be like an all-star level player. Every single player on this roster, so good defensively. So good. So many weird guards. Too many guards.
Yeah, and they can consolidate that to Donovan Mitchell. They added Joe Ingles.
That would be fucking awesome. But something tells me that Donovan Mitchell not wanting to re-sign in Cleveland, he's not looking to swap Cleveland for Orlando, unless he's a huge Disney fan.
What does he want? Like,
big city. He's played in Utah and Cleveland his whole career. Like, I can give him a break.
I know, but
playing in Utah low-key for a normal person, and by normal person I mean not a Mormon, that would be so fucking weird.
Yeah.
So you are surrounded by Mormons everywhere you look.
And all the stuff where it's like if any fan is screaming racial slurs at a team, it's always the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah, that mustn't be fun.
It would grate on you.
Yeah. And
the Cleveland winter can't be fun either.
What if Donnie Mitch just becomes a hard gun and just signs 1-year deals with every franchise?
That would be so good.
Yeah.
He'd be awesome in Orlando. That would be so.
Yeah.
Be so.
A lot of people.
Suggs, Mitchell, Wagner, Banchero, big man.
Yeah, it's good. It's so good having Wagner because they can just sign any ball dominant. Like they don't need passing out of their 1-2.
Yeah,
pretty cool. Wagner's had a bad year and they're still winning.
Yeah,
Wagner he won a title, so it's like. So it doesn't matter. Yeah, good on the Magic. Let's move on to the Philadelphia 76ers, where we both picked the under 49.5. The Philadelphia 76ers lost Georges Niang, signed some backups, and they still had James Harden on their basketball team. And we both picked the under, and then they traded James Harden, and the Nick Nurse stuff was working. Joel Embiid was passing the ball for the first. It was incredible. Like, this was the best team in basketball. No buts about it. And I used my mulligan to flip it to over. I consciously said I'm buying in. Like, remember when Kelly Oubre was the best player in the world and then Adam Silver hit him with a car? And he like stumbled home and his Doorbird camera got leaked. It was like TMZ had watermarked his Doorbird camera being like, I got hit by a car.
I don't think I actually saw the footage, but bloody hell,
it's just him stumbling in because he couldn't walk because he hit by. I used my mulligan and Memphis were right there.
You can't beat yourself up over that.
Memphis were right.
How could you have known that Embiid was going to tear his meniscus?
There's no prior knowledge to figure that one out. Yeah,
disappointing. This one is like, throw it out. There's not much to say. Like, Maxey was an all-star. He's a candidate for most improved. He's kind of shown like...
He's going to win it.
Well, we'll see.
Oh, yeah?
I don't think that it's all wrapped up.
Yeah, you keep talking.
Maxey's shown he can be the second best player on a really fucking good team, especially when Joel Embiid, MVP, is the best player on that team. And this team was on. They were going to be on track for 55 to 60 wins before Embiid went down. So any kind of analysis of how they have gone during the regular season is kind of moot, really, because they were 500 or worse with just Maxey. They really struggled.
Yeah.
And since Embiid's come back, they're on a 7-game win streak.
Maxey is the runaway favourite. Scotty Barnes second, Kobe White third.
Yeah.
Then Şengün, Cam Thomas.
Someone picked Tyrese Maxey for most improved before the start of the season.
Oh, you did last year as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
Hey, you just keep banging it, you'll get
Yeah,
it.
well, literally. Guess who I'm picking for Defensive Player of the Year next year? Giannis for the 5th year in a row. I'll get it one day.
I mean, yeah, you've gotten a couple there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame. I stand by my mulligan. It's just such a bummer. It's easier to trust the bad team that wants to tank than it is to trust the good team that if anything goes wrong, they just might not win 50.
Well, in 2 teams' time, there will be a bad team that was signposting that they wanted to tank, and we trusted them, and we were right to.
Next team, the Toronto Raptors. Their number was set at 36.5. They're now, as Dante just said, the 7th worst team in basketball.
25 wins.
25
Not very
wins.
good.
11 games fewer. Have I got any cool stats? No. We both hit the under and we both got it. No actual incentive to tank here because their picks owed to
And they weren't trying to. They were trying to be good for the first 30 to 35 games of the season.
Yeah.
They traded Anunoby for Rowan Jr. and Quickly.
Yeah.
We'll see how that ends up going out. But as you outlined before in the Indiana Pacers section, they are going to have a fucking high tax bill. Has Rowan Jr. been extended? He's on 25 a year.
Yeah.
He's like a 4 for 100 type.
Yeah.
Quickly will be in the 4 for 100 vicinity.
Yeah.
So you got 25 committed to both of those. Scotty Barnes as the 4th pick from that draft will be getting
about
paid 10, 15.
Yeah.
Jake Puddle, let's just be generous and say that he's on 15. So you're looking at 80 million between your first 4 players.
They're paying Jalen McDaniels something. Maybe it's the MLA. Yeah. And they're going to re-sign Kelly Olynyk to 10 per, right? Yeah.
And then Bruce Brown if they decide to pick him up.
Yeah. And the cap's 147. And we've just listed 100.
Well, 100 plus.
100 plus.
100.
So, yeah, after this offseason, Fred VanVleet walked. They drafted Grady Dick, who started off horribly and then has actually turned around. He's been a good player. They signed Jalen McDaniels. That's a bad one. And re-signed Jake Puddle. I wish I'd written the number down. No incentive to tank, but we both did a good job in recognising that they were going to be bad. How cool is that?
It's almost like we've been doing this for a long time.
Both get a point there. Then the final team, the Washington Wizards, their numbers are at 24.5, which was the lowest number on the board, and we somehow picked the under. I thought
Jake Puddle 4 years 78, by the way. So
we wrote no notes for the Washington Wizards.
There's nothing to say. They signposted aggressively at the start of the season, we're not trying to win, and it became eminently obvious that they were not trying to win, and they haven't. The most notable thing from this season for the Washington Wizards is during Detroit's historic loss streak, Kyle Kuzma said, at this point, it's like, just don't be that team, bro. And then the Pistons proceeded to beat the Wizards, and the Wizards have proceeded to win 15 games versus the Pistons 14 games for the season. That's it.
I thought Jordan Poole was going to be better than this, seriously.
He's been dog water.
He's been the best tank commander you could get. This
dog
is like
water.
Kobe Bryant.
He's also been benched at times.
Yeah.
You know?
Can you name their head coach?
I was just thinking that. I actually can't.
Yeah.
I can name the GM, winger.
Yeah, Michael.
Who's the head
Not
coach
Mike.
of the Washington Wizards?
He was a dude he was an interim, and then now he's got a chance to win.
Is he like a Jacques Vaughn kind of character?
No, it's not Wes Unseld. Brian Keefe.
I've never heard of that guy in my whole fucking life. We both went on. There's actually nothing to say.
I know. We're going to wrap up, but all of their prospects, there's no high-level prospects there. Like, it's like Bilal Coulibaly. Okay, there is a high-level prospect.
Is he a high-level prospect?
But for this year,
Bilal
it's like...
Coulibaly has, maybe he's a 2 years away from being 2 years away type operator. But his average is like 7 points.
But in terms of dudes where it's like, okay, here's the reins, take it away. And then Denny Avdija is like, look, I'll score 12 for you.
No, Denny actually has been really
I'll
good.
score 16 for you.
Denny,
I'm sorry, Moff.
I'll tell you this. The only reason why I know this, because I haven't watched Washington Wizards basketball this season.
Yeah.
I had Denny in fantasy for most of the season. And he has actually been awesome. He scored 44 points.
True.
He had like a 44 and 18 game.
But it's like, what's his role on a good team? This is his
role on a good team is 5th starter.
Derek White.
It's actually not a bad comparison in the sense that, like, he's not an elite defender like White, but he's a stitcher together. He makes the right pass. He makes the extra pass. If you're relying on him to do any one thing at a superlative level for you, it's not going to go well. But he's a good player who has high baselines on pretty much every skill on a basketball court. Fifth starter on a good team, I 100% see it.
The Wizards are full of fifth starters.
The thing with Koulibaly is, like, Koulibaly was, he was 8th last year in the draft. They traded up to get him.
One pick.
Indiana wanted him as well.
No, Indiana were happy with Jarris
Walker. Who wanted? Someone else wanted him.
No, they just, they both agreed to flip it. Indiana just played it well and said, we're going to save $500,000 on the pick. And they just shook hands and traded it. Because they said, look, someone else.
I don't think you would get the 8th pick for Bilal Koulibaly now after the season that he's just put in. Not to say that the Wizards' analysis of him and his game was wrong, or that he's not going to be, doesn't have a chance to be an all-star. Like, not to say anything, but just to say on the basis of what he's put on tape this year, I don't think he's a high-level prospect.
Yeah. It'll be fun to see what he does next year after an off-season behind him.
Yeah, well, and hopefully with a bit more of a structured roster around him as well.
Wizards bad. After the Eastern Conference, you have 8 points and I have 6 points.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, nice.
I'm very pleased with that.
So that will be the end of the first half of the Eastern Conference reviews. What's it called? Is it called a review?
Yeah, over under reviews.
Yeah,
so we got the West. We got the West coming up probably on Monday or Tuesday. So I'll speak to you then.
Yeah, speak to you then.
This episode of The Deep 2 is presented by Gelateria Bico, the official gelato of The Deep 2. Gelateria Bico, handmade gelato in the heart of Brunswick.
You want to talk WNBA? Maybe some WNBL? Australian Opals chat? Heck, even dabble in some EuroLeague? Find the W Basketball Show on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
The Jeff Van Gundy Tribute Show is your fortnightly dose of the lighter side of basketball, hosted by me, Marco.
And me, Lucas. We take a more laid-back approach, talking about the NBA, the WNBA, FIBA basketball, culture, whatever tickles our fancy or grinds our gears.
The show is filled with great guests, classic gags, and a healthy dose of tangents in honour of the great man himself.
The Jeff Van Gundy Tribute Show, fortnightly on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
Loves just talking about the league, certain things like that.